Hello and welcome to a FortiWeb tutorial on machine learning-based API protection. APIs are the backbone of modern applications, but they are also a prime target for attackers. Machine learning-based API protection addresses this challenge by learning the REST API data structure from user traffic, building mathematical models that screen out malicious requests and prevent sensitive data leakage in API responses. FortiWeb provides 3 layers of robust security that evolves with your APIs: schema protection, threat protection, and sensitive data leakage prevention. Now, let us show you how machine learning is transforming API protection. FortiWeb's ML-based API protection secures REST APIs by learning their structure from user traffic and building endpoint-specific models to block malicious requests. It starts with API discovery, analyzing methods, URLs, and endpoints to create a schema model. Any request deviating from this schema is flagged as malicious through API protection. With continuous learning, the system adapts to changes like new endpoints or parameter updates, ensuring ongoing security. A schema violation occurs when incoming data, like a JSON payload, doesn't match the predefined structure, data types, or rules defined in the schema. For instance, a type violation happens when a value doesn't match the expected data type. A property violation occurs when a property is either missing or contains an unexpected field. Finally, a minimum or maximum violation happens when a numeric value falls outside the defined range. Here is an example of a type violation. In this case, the schema requires the ID field to be an integer. However, the provided value, 123ABC, is a string, violating the schema's type definition. FortiWeb detects these type violations to ensure API data conforms to the correct structure. Next, we have an example of a property violation. In this case, the schema requires both ID and name fields. However, the incoming request is missing the name property, violating the schema. FortiWeb detects property violations to ensure API requests adhere to the required structure. Next, we have here an example of a minimum or maximum violation. In this case, the value 16 violates the minimum constraint, while the value 65 exceeds the maximum constraint. FortiWeb detects these violations to ensure API data stays within the defined limits. FortiWeb's ML-based API protection identifies malicious API requests by detecting anomalies in request parameters. It learns normal patterns, builds mathematical models, and screens requests for irregularities. Administrators can report false positives directly from logs, allowing the system to refine its models and improve accuracy over time. A threat protection violation occurs when observed behavior significantly deviates from patterns learned during training. The model uses legitimate traffic data to detect anomalies like code injection, command injection, SQL injection, cross-site scripting, and other threats. Here's an example of a threat protection violation. First, let's look at the normal traffic patterns the model learns. The username is alphanumeric between 5 to 15 characters. The action is one of these allowed values: login, logout, or update. The timestamp is an ISO 8601 format. Now, let's see the malicious payload. The username contains an unusual pattern with embedded script, suggesting a possible cross-site scripting attack. The action includes an unrecognized value, pointing to a potential exploit. The timestamp is malformed, hinting at a possible SQL injection. FortiWeb quickly identifies these anomalies to protect against advanced threats. FortiWeb's ML-based API protection takes data security to the next level by scanning for sensitive data leakage in API requests and responses. This adds crucial visibility and protection against the exposure of sensitive information. The first component is built-in sensitive data detection, where FortiWeb scans API requests and responses for sensitive data types, such as personal information and files, providing instant detection and alerting. The second component integrates with FortiGuard's data loss prevention service. This extensive database of over 500 predefined data patterns and policies helps FortiWeb detect and block sensitive data exposure in API responses. With continuous updates from FortiGuard, FortiWeb ensures your data protection is always up to date, making it easier to deploy and maintain robust API security. FortiWeb's machine learning-based API protection leverages continuous learning to ensure your API security evolves with your environment. As new APIs are introduced, the model automatically adapts to handle new endpoints and services. It also accommodates changes to existing parameters, the addition of required fields, modifications in URL structures, and adjustments to request and response payloads. This flexibility ensures that FortiWeb's API protection remains up to date, providing robust security in response to the ongoing evolution of your API environment. Setting up machine learning-based API protection in FortiWeb is simple. Start by navigating to Server Policy, and simply add an ML-based API protection policy as part of creating your server policy and specify the domain names you wish to protect. FortiWeb will then take care of the rest, learning the API schema, analyzing parameter patterns, and monitoring for sensitive data in API requests and responses. Once FortiWeb detects any malicious API requests, it will automatically take the necessary actions to mitigate the threats. After you have applied the ML-based API protection policy, you can view and manage the learned schema data by navigating to API protection, then ML-based API protection. From here, the system allows you to manually add or remove API paths, update parameters, and edit the API body to fine-tune the learning process. Here, we have an example of a schema violation recorded in the attack logs. This log shows a schema violation where the query validation has failed due to the required query parameter being missing, triggering a query parameter violation. Next, let's view the parameter value patterns learned from API requests. You can review anomaly samples and noisy data, and directly report false positives from the attack logs. This allows the system to adjust its model and recognize similar requests as benign in the future. Now, here's an example of FortiWeb detecting an API request with abnormal parameters, which is then recorded in the attack logs. Finally, here's how you can view sensitive data warnings. FortiWeb detects sensitive data, like personal information and credit card numbers, in API requests and responses, providing alerts for potential data exposure. In summary, FortiWeb's ML-based API protection provides a robust, future-ready solution to meet the demands of modern API-driven applications. With its advanced capabilities, FortiWeb is a leader in API and web application security. Protect your APIs with confidence. Choose FortiWeb for unmatched API security and peace of mind. Thank you for watching.